remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have before me certification of the clerk, from the clerk, that this meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Gill.
Present.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Present.
Freeholder Clark.
Here.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder President Watson, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Thank you. I'm here tonight serving as president because unfortunately our president, Lonnie Watson, is ill and was unable to attend. And at this point, I'd like to call upon Freeholder Brendan Gill. We are in Montclair tonight, and Montclair is a very important town in Freeholder Gill's district. So I'd like to call upon him to welcome you all.
Thank you, Vice President, President Seabold, and thank you for that opportunity. First and foremost, I want to thank both the administration and our president, who isn't with us this evening, for agreeing to move the freeholder meetings throughout the county of Essex. I think this is a great opportunity to bring government directly to the constituents which we represent. Of course, we are in Montclair, and those of you who serve with me on this board know how much I care about this community, which I have the honor and privilege to represent. I have the honor and privilege to represent 5 communities on the Freeholder Board, but Montclair in particular holds a special place in my heart. I'm a graduate of the public schools in this community, and most of my opportunities and success were created for many people in this town. And as Freeholder Johnson also just said, we have very comfortable chairs here in the council chambers. So he wants to come back. So with that, I wanted to thank my colleagues and the members of the board for making the time to be here tonight. We also have some members in the audience who wanted to make sure that they address the board about some activities going on, not only locally here in Montclair, but in the county of Essex. So I'm hoping that they'll have a few minutes during the public portion of the meeting to address those concerns. And just finally, thank you, Freeholder Seabold. We also had a tremendous amount of presentations to a few of our local honorees. Our Montclair High School crew team, which had a successful spring season, a tremendous spring season, as well as representatives from many different organizations here in the community we had a chance to recognize. So thank you, Freeholder Clark, for taking the time to be there for those presentations. And again, thank you for the opportunity to bring greetings from my hometown of Montclair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Freeholder Gill. Madam Clerk, are there any transcripts to be approved?
Yes, Madam Vice President, we have 4. The conference meeting of May 1st and May 15th, 2013, and the board meetings of April 24th and May 7th, 2013.
Thank you. Freeholders, do you have any questions or comments or concerns which you would like to address at this time concerning the transcripts?
I'll move it.
Thank you. It's moved by Freeholder Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Gill. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
Thank you. We now move to the public comment session on all agenda items. Tonight's meeting is a combined conference board meeting, and we will vote on every item on the agenda. So if there is any member of the public who is here who would like to comment on any agenda item at all, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. The microphone is right over here by our County Administrator, Ralph Chilella. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none, If you would like to comment on any issue at all, not an agenda item, but any item at any issue at all, please come to the microphone. And again, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
So, so my name is Lucas Delabella.
I'm sorry, we're gonna bring the podium up for you.
Thank you.
Be a little more comfortable. That easy.
Alright, so I'm Lucas Delabella. I'm a Montclair resident and I live at 62 Beverly Road. I want to hold a movie marathon for charity event sometime this summer, preferably early August, for the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And I think it would be a good idea because there's a lot of things to do in this community for like younger kids, but things for teenage students, college students, and even adults. Because I definitely know some parents who love Lord of the Rings as well. We're kind of lacking in those areas, and I thought it would be both like a fun event and something that could be meaningful. My 11-year-old cousin just got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes about a month ago, and I just wanted to hold this to kind of honor him. I have a professional event planner who said she's more than happy to work with me. And I was considering maybe sometime using Brookdale Park, and I was hoping that was a possibility. And I just want to ask for your support, if that's possible.
Thank you very much. And is your question whether it could be held at Brookdale Park? Is that your question?
My question would just be if I could have your support for that. So,
Of course you have our support.
thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak?
Hello, I am Lynn Berger, and I am the Vice President of the Citizens Committee of the Presby Memorial Iris Gardens. Freeholder Gill was kind enough to spend some time with me and one of my colleagues about a month back to talk a little bit about the Iris Gardens and some of our current agenda issues. And he suggested that I come and speak to you briefly to ensure that the freeholders are aware of the Iris Gardens and perhaps to be able to offer some support to us as we work to recruit board members or trustees for the Iris Gardens, or should I say specifically the Citizens Committee of the Iris Gardens. Thank you. I am assuming that all of you have visited the Iris Gardens and are familiar with the Iris Gardens. We just had a spectacular bloom season. Mother Nature was very kind to us, and the cool spring allowed flowers to bloom simultaneously, really creating that rainbow on a hill that we strive to attain. The reason that I'm here tonight is to let you know that the Iris Gardens has been working very hard to upgrade its botanical display, to create a museum-quality collection. We're creating an Iris Hall of Fame that represents the best of the best irises in the world. And we are also beginning as a fundraising effort to sell named iris varieties, which are very dear to people who are iris collectors, both locally and globally. Because I only have 3 minutes, I'm trying to consolidate as much as I can, and so I'm going to move to my direct ask. We are really trying to get representation from across Essex County on our board of directors. We are a nonprofit organization, even though we reside in a county park, and there's a lot of work that is involved in fundraising and planning for the Iris Garden operation. We depend on the support of volunteers who are working to commit their time, what we refer to it as time, treasure, and talent, to our organization to help make it successful. And what I would like to do is to pass around to each of you a little job description of what it takes to be a trustee or director on our board, and ask that you talk with people in your communities who might have an interest either in botanical gardens, in fundraising, in giving
You have
back.
30 seconds,
That's
so
fine.
please wrap up.
I'm good. I think you get the gist. What I would really like to do is to ask for you to network our opportunity for trustees. In the information that's being passed around is contact information, and I greatly appreciate Freeholder Gill inviting me and President Seabold for having me to the podium.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Madam,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry I wasn't as quick as the others. Good
That's
evening.
quite all right.
My name is Alexandra de Blasio. I wanted to thank you for allowing us to speak. I'm here today with, this evening with Garrett Morrison and with Roosevelt Weaver. We have a handout for you, and we're here to talk about bringing global language immersion to Essex County. First, I wanted to just speak quickly about what we think world language immersion is, what it is not, what it is. What it is not is it's not mandatory, and it is not just Spanish. What it is, and what we're hoping to bring to the Essex County schools, is world language immersion, so that the children from K through 12 would spend half, on a voluntary basis or an optional basis, spend half of their day in classes where they speak just English, and half of the day where the languages are, where the classes are taught in a different language, and they would just be speaking for half of the day in that language. Why Essex County? Because we're very diverse. We have a very large Portuguese American community, Haitian American community, and Spanish speaking community. And so what we would like to do is bring French, Portuguese, Spanish, and Chinese into the school systems. We have a lot of interest in the community, and also in particular, there are a lot of less privileged or less economically less well-off children who come from homes where English is not the main language. And we believe this is something that would help very much, because at their homes, they may speak Spanish, Portuguese, Haitian Creole. They come to school, kindergarten, first grade. Everybody comes in at an equal level, but children who go back home and don't have English-speaking parents tend to fall behind. They don't have the same support system at home. They don't have help with homework. So this would be something where using the languages that are predominant in the community would give them a chance to participate in school, work with their parents, and they would be the ones who would be helping their classmates who weren't French speakers or Spanish speakers. And we think this would give the children a sense of confidence and improve their skills in school right from the beginning. Another reason for Essex County is our location. This is a trend which is starting to take off in the United States, global immersion. It's very big in Utah and Delaware and Minnesota. Those three states have these systems, and we think that it's coming to the Northeast and that New Jersey should be the leader. No reason New York or Connecticut should get ahead of us on this. And we believe it'll bring business to New Jersey. We also, in Essex County, we have Montclair State University, which is a great facility for teachers.
30 seconds.
Okay. And so that would be a place that we would like to headquarter this program. So we've given you all sorts of materials if you have the chance to look over any of them. But what we would like to do is have a meeting with the board president and with the administration and start to discuss in detail why we think this would be a wonderful place to start such a program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your excellent information.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who would like to speak before I move on? Is there no one else ready to speak? If not, those who have spoken, if you have raised any questions, your questions will be answered in writing within a week. Thank you for being here and expressing your thoughts. With that, we move on to our topic of discussion. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Madam Vice President, there are none.
With that, we now move on, and what I'm going to do is group the resolutions together that deal with a specific department. And the first two resolutions, resolution number 1 and resolution number 2, deal with the Department of Corrections. And I would ask Madam Clerk to read these resolutions into the record at a later time. And I will call on Ralph Chilella to explain resolution number 1 and resolution number 2.
Thank you. Resolution 1, as we discussed last week at our previous Freeholder meeting, is a contract. We are exercising the option, a 2-year option for food services at our county correctional facility to GD Correctional Services LLC. As you know, last week, some of the board members had some questions. We provided a packet for the board that included the business certification, updated disclosure statements, business registration, hold harmless agreements. There's a whole packet that we provided the board. If the board has any additional questions, we do have a representative of GD Correctional Services here, as well as our director and always our county counsel. Resolution number 2 is a revenue, projected revenue to the county. Gloucester County is looking to close their correctional facility. They would like to do a shared services with Essex County and have Essex County basically the 2-year contract, the projected revenue over the 2-year period would be roughly just under $3 million. And it would be to house the Gloucester County inmates, those inmates that are sentenced to under 1 year. These particular inmates, we do not believe, nor do Gloucester believe, will exceed capacity at our correctional facility. I think the maximum is 75. I think currently Gloucester houses roughly 46 of the sentenced inmates. This matter has received a lot of due diligence on the part of the County of Essex, as well as Gloucester County, and we're looking forward to moving this shared service agreement with Gloucester. And we have Mr. Paganelli as well as Mr. Ortiz available to answer any additional questions the board may have.
Thank you. We'll start by seeing if Mr. Parlavecchio has any questions about resolution number 1.
Number 1, no. No, I did receive the packet, I did review it, I also reviewed it with county council, as well as number 2, but I'll just...
Thank you. I'll get to
I
number
have
2 in a minute.
No issues.
Mr. McEnerney, do you have any questions about resolution number 1?
No, I think the Freeholder president last week's meeting wanted the representative here because he signed the contract. So that was my recommendation.
Is there a representative here from
Yes, we do.
CD Correctional Services? Would you please come to the microphone
Will
and
Michael please come forward?
tell us who you are and something about your company and what you're planning to do?
You may recognize me also because I do the Freeholder website, so I don't want to confuse anybody. GD Correctional is my family's business. We've been doing it, we were from 91 to 2004, provided services at the Correctional Center, and just recently in 2007, we were working contract again. I know there's some confusion. Gourmet Dining was the name of the company, but for correctional dining, as we've grown through the state of New Jersey, there's been some issues where they see a resolution for gourmet dining for inmate meals. So what we did was restructure, just use GD Correctional. GD obviously means gourmet dining, but a little more discreet on the name, so it doesn't seem like, why are inmates getting gourmet dining? Just to make it easier, that's why we changed the name, just to clear that up.
Thank you very much. Freeholders, do you have any questions? Mr. McEnerney?
That makes all the sense in the world. We didn't understand what the rationale was, but that seems to, explain it. While he's here, Mr. Ortiz is here, and if we, could we give your name to?
Yeah, Michael Frungillo.
And if we, Mr. Ortiz is here, he could make a comment whether he's satisfied with the services. I think I would.
Fine. Mr. Ortiz, if you would come to the microphone, please.
Good evening, Al Ortiz, Director, Essex County Correctional Facility. I'm pleased to report that they have met all the expectations that we put forth contractually and everything that we asked of them. They serve upwards of 6,000 meals a day of all varieties, diverse meals, special diets, and we have no concerns whatsoever.
Freeholders, do you have any questions for Mr. Ortiz? No? If not, thank you very much. Are there any further questions? All right, if there are no further questions, we'll move on to resolution number 2. Mr. Prolavecchio, do you have any questions about number 2?
More comment. This was pulled from the agenda at the last meeting because of a lawsuit that was filed seeking to enjoin Gloucester County from moving any of the inmates. That has kind of wound its way up through the appellate division and a brief stop at the state Supreme Court. I believe has declined to take any further action on it. So there's no injunction or nothing at this point that would stop Gloucester County from executing further contracts. It's my understanding they have already executed contracts with some counties more local to them. But there's no longer, the impediment that I was concerned with last week is no longer in place. So I could encourage them to move forward on this. I'd like to hear from County Council. We could certainly give you some more details on the lawsuit that he was in.
Thank you, Mr. Prolavecchio. Mr. McEnerney, do you have any questions or
Oh,
comments?
just to hear from County Council and from Mr. Ortiz as well.
All right. County Council, Mr. Paganelli, would you please come to the microphone?
James Paganelli from the Office of County Council.
Mr. Prolavecchio, what did you wish to explain?
Well, if you could give any other explanation, I think I went into a little bit that the concern last week was the state public defender had filed a lawsuit seeking to enjoin the County of Gloucester from entering into any contracts with other counties to transfer their inmates, citing some concerns about the ability to, for the public defender's office in general to represent their clients when there's distance involved. So I think my understanding from you is the Supreme Court has declined to entertain that lawsuit any further.
Madam President, through you, first let me thank Michael, because Michael, every step of the way, has been involved in litigation, has offered me counsel and direction, so I always appreciate, I lean on the Freeholder staff and board a lot for guidance, and I appreciate all that he's offered to the process. He's correct. Gloucester County intends to really close its county jail, and it has reached contracts with Salem and Burlington and another county south, as well as now us if the board approves it. It's a direct contract. I know Mr. Chilello has been kind of indicating that it's a shared service. While it is a shared service, it's not something that we're doing under the shared services statute that has its own requirements. This is a direct contract under the local public contracting law, whereby we will take hopefully predominantly sentenced inmates and house them in our facility. The Gloucester County Public Defender's Office initiated lawsuits against us as well as other counties. We handled it in-house. At the trial level down in Burlington, the judge did not issue an injunction to stop their closure. They then appealed to the appellate division. The appellate division heard it emergently or took it emergently, but did not impose injunction or restraints. And today we got notice that the Supreme Court similarly did not issue an injunction for their closure and the transfer of inmates. So I think under Michael's guidance last week, he made the appropriate call, which was to withdraw it because we were still filing papers and we didn't want to put the board in a situation where we were yo-yoing everybody back and forth. So now I think we have legal clearance to do it. It's up to the board to vote on it. And there may still be an ongoing underlying claim, but it doesn't involve injunctions or restraints, and my office will handle that as well.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Freeholders, are there additional questions? Mr. Johnson?
I have some.
Freeholder Johnson? Mr. Ortiz? Mr. Ortiz, if you could please come to the microphone. I'm sorry. Freeholder Clark?
I just have, I guess, one sort of question, sort of comment. My concern is that my concern is the direction that Essex is taking and the stance that it's taking relative to other counties wanting to do away with their correctional piece, and us Essex County winding up being jailkeeper of the state of New Jersey. That's a direction that could conceivably, well, it's a direction that, as a sitting legislator right now, I'm not comfortable voting for. Because it's one thing on paper to say that $2 million will be coming to the county, but what's the cost of that? You're talking about people who, you said they've already been sentenced. So what kind of time is it? I guess it's county time that they're doing, is it state time? Do we know what kind of time it is that they're doing, or does it matter? But the bottom line is that we're now taking on and incorporating into our own issues. We have our own issues with, incarceration here in Essex County, and now we're bringing folks from South Jersey. We're already bringing them from Passaic, juveniles. I mean, we've got a whole lot going on here. And then when people are released, where are they released to? Are they released into our communities here in Essex County? Are they released back down in Gloucester County? Well, there are a lot of ramifications to this that go beyond $2 million in revenue. So as for me, I'll be voting no. And on the other one, I just think that it's fine for folks to restructure. I think people do that all the time. But that's not who we bid the contract. So I'll be voting no on that one as well.
Do you have any response, either of you? Please.
This undertaking, Ortiz, Director of Essex County Correctional Facility. We've had many meetings and planning sessions with the officials of Gloucester. Your issue that you raised earlier, it's a bigger issue than us. Other counties are emerging. What I can tell you is that Essex County is experienced in these endeavors. As you know, we have an ICE detention capability, federal, and now Gloucester. I can also tell you that we've been accredited by the state, NCCHC, National Healthcare for Health Corrections, and most recently, and it's final in August in Baltimore, we were recommended for ACA full accreditation. So we are living up to all the expectations that a jail, I understand that jail situation may not be a pleasant thought, but if anybody has to do it, Essex County is uniquely qualified to do that. So to answer that, with regard to the issue of being released, one of two mechanisms can happen. If an individual is comfortable taking a bus pass and going to the railways and getting back to their homes, or their family can come pick them up, or Gloucester, in any particular case, will pick them up and deliver them back to their county. So I think there's one other issue, I guess I can't remember what it was.
1 year.
Yeah, and these are county sentenced individuals. They go from 1 day to 364. And these are the individuals that don't have to go to court, they resolve their issues. Anybody who still has an issue in the greater Gloucester County area will remain in other county jails that we have made arrangements with. So I hopefully I've answered your question.
Yes, you have, Mr. Ortiz, and I thank you for that. I still have some concern, but you've answered the questions, and I appreciate that. I would just rather see us focus some attention at this point in time on reentry programs, because there are people who are going to be coming out. You indicated that this is county time, so anywhere from 1 day to 360 days. So it's a basically they're in there for a year
Yeah,
Okay.
usually much less.
or less. You said that they feel comfortable with the bus pass. And bottom line is that a number of things can happen between release and getting on a bus, going back to Gloucester County. Bottom line is, I would love to see us say that, you know what, there's a reentry program that can help move you along, because that's an issue too. And I would like to see us start focusing some attention and some resources on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Freeholder Johnson.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz, what is the capacity of our institution? How many inmates can our institution hold?
Our maximum capacity is 2,434 beds. That's our maximum capacity. And in an emergency, we can exceed that, but that's a temporary housing situation, but we can handle 2,434.
Okay. What capacity are we at currently?
This morning, we were at 2,064.
2064. Now, how many of these, if this is approved today, how many of these will be shipped in immediately from?
No more than 75, but on average, it'll be somewhere, Mr. Chihuahua said 46, I say 47 based on the numbers I had a couple weeks ago.
Now, you know this is getting to be the warm time of the year. Our capacity goes up, and I know with the years that you've been there, you should have an idea on how much we flex up during the summer months.
Well, I've had the experience of working in the older jails with no HVAC. What I can tell you is we have controls in place. The design of the correctional facility is such that you can have one individual on one side of the jail and the other one, and they never meet. We have those controls in place, and the climate control situation that we have lends itself to this. So whether it's cold outside or whether it's hot outside, it stays static. So we have our activities in place, recreational activities, to keep them busy. And right now there is a decline in the population from Essex coming in. Our commitments are down.
Well,
that's been over a couple of years now.
One of the reasons why I pose those questions is because of the fact that, as you know and we know, we hear from a lot of people in the public that how they take it and they just take prisoners from out of jail and put them in Delaney. And without really, some of them have some charges or backgrounds, maybe not the charge that they are there for presently. But when you look into their record, you see that they do have some of those assaults, some of those kind of charges. And because of the last charge he had, they give him an opportunity to go into they push him over in Delaney when we started getting a little population over there. And these are the kind of things that people in the community and people elsewhere talk to us about, how they're pushed over into Delaney. And they're saying, there's a saying that we're doing this just to make money.
To answer your primary question, the Gloucester inmates will not be going to Delaney. They'll remain with us. To answer your secondary questions, individuals, when you come in, you have a certain charge history and you have a certain crime. We don't allow individuals with certain types of crime, violence, sexual assault, arson, and the like. An individual, although coming in, while commitment may not have that charge, but soon thereafter, a police agency or someone may lodge the charge against them. That results in us bringing them back. And we have that vetting process that happens every day. Individuals that are county sentenced, but all of a sudden, they end up in court and get state sentenced, they come back. They're not allowed. So it's always back and forth. The individuals that have certain types of histories, we won't allow them, even if they're not charged by the state or by the state or anything that we deem that individual may not have a good psychological outlook or whatever have you. So we vet that out consistently, and it's an everyday thing.
Thank you very much. Freeholder Bobadilla?
I just need a little clarification. You said the inmates to be transferred, they're going to be serving a 1-year sentence?
up to 1 year. It could be 60 days, could be 90, could be 120.
So is that based on the nature of the crime or just a contractual term?
Well, we take everybody that fits those criterias that up to a year, and the nature of the crime. Usually somebody who does a heinous crime doesn't get 120 days or whatever. It's usually municipal charge, vagrancy, or repetitive trespassing, whatever the like. Usually an individual with a more substantive crime is a state charge, in which case renders him ineligible for Delaney Hall. So it's a complicated process, but this individual is doing county time for whatever the infraction may be.
And is this contract going to create any additional jobs?
Not at this time. We have the staffing available for it. As a matter of fact, it's actually saving jobs. Because we have about close to upwards of 300 vacancies right now in the institution.
I have a question concerning those who wish to visit people from Gloucester who are in the prison here. Is Gloucester going to provide transportation for those people who wish to come so far to see family members, etc.?
Madam President, James Pagan, elected to the Office of County Council. If I may, I'll answer that because it's been part of the ongoing litigation. Gloucester has formulated what we call in our papers the Gloucester Transportation Program. It's going to do two things. One is if there is an inmate here that's pre-sentenced, they will transport them back to Gloucester to meet with their attorneys or support groups, witnesses, things like that. And as a corollary to that, Gloucester has also said that if family from down there or support group or clergy want to visit, they'll transport them from down there up to our facility for business.
So we're not going to have to take that responsibility. It will be Gloucester County's responsibility to make sure they take care of that.
That's correct.
Very good. Thank you very much. Freeholder Hill.
Thank you for your receivable. Just a couple of questions. The revenue projection, again, just so I understand how we got there. So these are anywhere for up to a year. The per day, there's a per diem cost per day that we get sent, and we project it out how?
The daily rate, Ortiz director, the daily rate for the individual Gloucester inmates is $108, which is what we get now from the ICE detainees. We wanted to keep that consistent.
Right.
And that's projected out based on their population influx. And that covers what we need to cover in order to provide our services, medical, custodial, social services, recreation, everything that's required. Yes.
Okay, so all those other medical services, things like that, that's all included, or?
Ortiz director. For normal, everyday, mundane medical services, if there is extraordinary services outside hospital, Gloucester has already engaged with East Orange, just like we do with the Hudsons and the Union counties. They have a separate contract with East Orange and they pay for the inmate's medical care should he need to go out to the outside hospital. That's not us. What we will also incur is any individual inmate that is housed in our hospital unit, they will pay us the overtime rate for the officers watching. So while they're in the jail, they get their aspirins, their antibiotics, and whatever the like. Anything more than that goes outside, they take care of that.
Okay, so that part is under the agreement that we have with East Orange General Hospital?
I don't think it's under this agreement here, but they have a separate agreement with East Orange General Hospital that they're either working on or finalizing. And I will check that when I get back, but that is the understanding that we have both entered into. They will pay for extraneous services with East Orange.
Right. Is the revenue project, I mean, we've entered into similar agreements like this in the past. How have we done with these revenue projections? Have we evaluated that? Do we hit these numbers? When you come before us, and again, as a newer member of the board, and tell us, you know, we're going to see 2.9 million or whatever it is, and again, I understand trying to generate more revenue for the county, and I also concur with Freeholder Clerk that I'd like to see, you know, again, as a general policy matter, maybe some more on how we're transitioning people out and back into society, but specific to that, you know, the idea of generating this revenue, how have we performed? on past contracts?
Through the chair, I guess the simple answer is we've been very conservative in our revenue estimated numbers. Each year, we've exceeded our revenue projections, whether it's federal marshals or whether it's detainees. We've been very conservative and we've exceeded our initial budget allocation, or budget revenue projections.
Thank you very much.
This is,
Mr. McEnerney.
this has become a substantial part of our budget. As you know, we get given $40 million on these contracts. This contract here, if it's at its maximum, would be just nearly $3 million, as I count. So, in addition to having that level of revenue, as you know, we don't incur the cost of keeping it on our nonviolent inmates in Delaney Hall. So, one of the things we're trying to do is build a surplus in our budget, because if it comes a point in time where these contracts aren't available anymore, the county is going to have a big gap in its budget. It happens in the night. So keep in mind that this is a very substantial part of our revenue base, that the administration is aware that it's a very substantial part of our revenue base, that the grant that we get from the state corrections to pay the cost, $90 million cost of Laney Hall, is also part of the formula. If that grant is gone, so is $20 million worth of bottom line, if you will. And the fact that it's all relevant, because as I said, it's been the administration's position and its boards to try to build our fund balance on an annual basis, so that if this contract goes, at least we have some time to anticipate fund balance to make that gap. But I think everybody's got to be aware that this has become a big thing for our budget. It's a big revenue source.
Thank you, Mr. McEnerney. Mr. McEnerney is our financial consultant, and he's always giving us good information that really counts in terms of our finances. At this point, freeholders, may I have a motion to... I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just one more question.
You have another question?
I did.
Freeholder Gill. Sorry about that, I thought we were through.
Thank you. You touched on it briefly, Director. In terms of number of shifts that we have right now through our officers, what do we anticipate that direct effect to be? I mean, I'm hearing you tell us that we have enough personnel. In fact, this contract would actually help us protect or keep jobs, is how you're presenting it. But is there enough infrastructure there to support this? Does it need more additional shifts? What kind of issues does it present? And are we prepared?
Ortiz, Director of Corrections. Zero impact. We are staffed with 2,434. My current count, this one was 2,064. So we already have the infrastructure. So when I say we're saving jobs, if we didn't have these influx of inmates to cover that at some point, if we had payment for the federal marshal program, we would have to look at, that we are overstaffed. So right now, it's zero impact to win revenue.
Freeholders, are there any further questions? Before we continue, I'd like to announce that Freeholder Luciano has joined us. At this time, if there are no other questions, I will take a motion and a second. Is there a motion? It's been moved by Freeholder Bobadilla. Is there a second? Freeholders, second to both resolution number 1 and resolution number 2. We've had a motion and we need a second. Freeholders?
Chair, I apologize. I just walked in late. So we are on resolution 1 and 2, correct?
Yes.
And before us, we have the counselor and we have Mr. Ortiz from the Essex County Jail.
And we've been speaking about this for, I'd say about a half hour now. We've gone through both resolution 1 and resolution 2 very carefully.
Have we clarified what we discussed on the public record last week about the nature or reasons behind the
Yes.
change in the name. And again, I apologize for being late for the food service
Yes, we
company.
did,
Yes,
we've
we
been
have.
through all of that. We've been through all of that. Do I have a second for the motions?
I'll second.
Resolution.
I'll second.
All right, Ed, second by Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk?
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
No.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
We now move to resolution number 3. Madam Clerk, would you please read resolution number 3?
Resolution 3, Office of the County Administrator authorizing the renewal of the county's pollution liability policy with Ace American Insurance Company, June 1st, 2013 through June 1st, 2014, at an annual premium of $25,633.65.
Thank you. Mr. Child,
Yes,
would you
Madam.
explain the resolution, please?
Yes, Madam President. This is a coverage, liability coverage for environmental remediation costs, as well as associated legal expenses. This firm is a A+ rated carrier. They have the best coverage available to the county at the lowest available rate. I would like to point out that the premium is the same, roughly identical to last year. I think a difference of about $1. And this insurance coverage was brought to us by our broker at the Massey Agency.
Freeholders, are there any questions? Well, let me start with Mr. Prodvecchio. Do you have any questions?
No.
Mr. McEnerney? Freeholders, are there any questions? We're on resolution 3, Office of the County Administrator. If there are no questions, then we need a motion and a second. Moved by Freeholder Clark, and we need a second. Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, please.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
Thank you very much. We'll now move to resolution number 4. Madam Clerk, would you please read resolution number 4?
Resolution 4, Office of the Sheriff Contract Award to General Sales Administration, TA Major Police Supply, to provide a vehicle license plate vehicle image identification system for Homeland Security under the Federal Procurement Program and New Jersey State Contract, amount not to exceed $349,502.20, grant funding.
Mr. Chiara.
Yes, Madam President, as the clerk read, this camera system will allow them to be utilized in the sheriff's officers' vehicles to identify license plates and vehicles. There will be 17 mobile units that will be purchased. There will also be 4 additional, which will be portable units. In each unit consists of 3 cameras.
Thank you very much. Mr. Prodvecchio, do you have any comments or questions?
No.
Mr. McEnerney? Freeholders, do you have any questions, any comments? Anything you wish to say about resolution number 4? If not, then may I have a motion and a second, please? Moved by Freeholder Clark
I'll second.
and second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill, absent. Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
Now we move to the county budget, and I'm going to take resolution 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, all dealing with the county budget, and the clerk will read the resolutions into the record at a later time. And I would ask Mr. Chiella to please go over each resolution.
Resolution number 5 is an insertion of funds from the State of New Jersey Environmental Protection and Solid Waste Administration under their Clean Communities Grant, $65,053. This grant will come into the county to assist our Public Works Department in the removal of litter and debris and trash from county roadways. Resolution number 6, revenue to the County of Essex from the State of New Jersey, Department of Labor, $8,503,233. These funds would be utilized for our TANF, our SNAP and GA clients for services. There is a breakdown in your packet of the services that should be provided. Resolution number 7, revenue from the State of New Jersey Department of Labor, under their dislocated worker program, $2,258,873. These funds will be utilized for job training as well as vocational training for dislocated workers. Resolution 8, insertion of funds from the State of New Jersey Department of Labor for youth under the Workforce WIA program, $972,271. This is to provide for workforce development services for our youth, job training, vocational skills. Resolution 9, revenue again from the State of New Jersey, Department of Environmental Protection, $196,811. This is to help support the county's environmental health activities regarding pesticide control, regulated underground storage tanks, inspections, safe drinking water, noise complaints, as well as solid waste control, air pollution, and hazmat. These funds in resolution number 9 will help fund and support some of the later resolutions you'll see in your packet.
Thank you very much. Mr. Paul, Mr. McEnerney, do you have questions or comments?
I just have one question. Resolution number 6, do we have the amount with us that we got last year?
Before we continue, I see that Arlene Steinbecker is here, she's the department director, and resolution number 6 through 8 all fall within her division, so perhaps you can come to the microphone to help answer the questions. Start with your question, please.
What was the amount we got last year?
I can tell you that this is an increase of 5.
Please put your name on the record.
Arlene Steinbecker, Director of Division of Training and Employment. This is roughly an increase of $565,000 over last year.
Any further questions? Mr. Parlavecchio?
No.
All right. Freeholder Clark? We're starting with number...
Are we on 6?
Well, we're doing 5. Mr. McEnerney was questioning number 6, so I asked Arlene Steinbecker to come back. Do you have any questions about 5 before we move on? Let's take care of 5 before we move on. Any questions about 5?
I do have one question about 5, and that is this, are these dollars that are actually for people who are working now, and they are distributed throughout the various municipalities?
Mr. Chiala?
Through Madam President, this is an ongoing grant that the Department of Public Works obtains from the state to utilize year-round. So it's not a particular program. I think it's referring to Sandy employees that were hired just to address some of the concerns of the cleanup of Sandy. This is an ongoing grant. Public Works receives it, inserts it, and they utilize it year-round.
So this is
Ongoing.
okay. And people are already in place.
Any other questions for resolution 5? If not, we'll move to 6. With Arlene Steinbecker?
Number 6, I thought I heard Mr. McEnerney ask the question, how much, and the amount here is $8,000,008.5.
I had Arlene
Did you say-
Steinbecker, Director of Division of Training Plan. I said this is an increase over last year's grant of about $565,000. We have an increase this year.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it is 8.5, but it's an increase.
It's an increase.
Okay. And this is the one that we normally vet in our workforce meeting.
Yes.
Have there been any issues thus far with any of the vendors or anything that's unusual or out of the ordinary that we should know about?
At this point, we're still reviewing the new proposals coming in, and we're about to present the contracts shortly.
So you haven't presented?
We're
Okay.
still grading them. We should be finished by the end of this week.
And we've gotten all of the this is our notice of obligation?
Yes.
Okay, so it's coming at least maybe a tiny bit earlier
Yes,
than
it
it
is.
has in the past,
Yeah.
which should enable people to get started.
Much earlier. Last year, we couldn't get started until October, I believe. By the time we got the NOO.
Okay.
Any other questions about resolution number 6? Freeholder voted.
Did we expend all the funds from last year yet?
I can't answer that yet because we still have time to spend them, and it basically, we have another 3 months, and our contracts, not all of our vendors have submitted all their bills at this point.
Any further questions on resolution 6? If not, we'll move to resolution number 7. Questions dealing with resolution number 7? No questions?
Well, you know,
Freeholder Clark?
relative to the adult dislocated workers, do you have any kind of data that speaks to how many people are being serviced by these grants?
Yes, we do. We have some, I think we prepared some for the last committee meeting. It was asked how many, I think they also asked how many were served, and also we have to count the number of contracts we paid for, and also I think the success rate. We do have that available.
Could we get copies of that for members of the board?
Yeah.
That would be excellent. Even though we're going to vote on it tonight, it would be good extra information for us to have, and also the same kind of information for number 6.
Any further questions dealing with resolution number 7? If not, we'll move to resolution number 8. Are there any questions or comments related to resolution number 8? If not, resolution number 9. Seeing none, freeholders, is there a motion to take resolution number 5 through resolution number 9? It's moved by Freeholder Clark. Is there a second? Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley absent, Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark,
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens absent, Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson absent, so moved.
We'll now take resolution number 10 and resolution number 11. The clerk will read it into the record at a later date. Mr. Chilella, County Administrator, please clarify resolution number 10 and 11.
Department of Health and Rehabilitation, Division of Community Health Services, for a uniform shared services agreement with the Essex Regional Health Commission to provide services under the County Environmental Health Act, $175,115. This is grant funded. Last year, we received roughly about $54,000 the county did from fines that were levied on various culprits regarding this act. In terms of programs that are provided under this program, they monitor the air, water, noise, expanded underground storage tank programs, as well as implement and ensure pesticide compliance. Essex Regional Health has been providing this service for Essex County since 1995. Resolution 11, Department of Health and Rehabilitation, uniform shared services agreement with the Township of Nutley for the provision of a hazardous emergency response service, $75,000. Again, this is grant funded. Nutley again has been providing this hazmat services to the County of Essex since 1996. And this will basically cover the cost of personnel to cover those related costs associated with a 24-hour response capability 7 days a week.
Thank you. Freeholders, are there any questions having to do with resolution number 10. Mr. Carlovecchio, Mr. McEnerney, any questions? All right, if not, we'll move to resolution number 11. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to move 10 and 11 and a second motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Gill, second by
Second that.
Freeholder Luciano. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
Moving on to resolution number 12, please read it. Clerk, Deborah Davis-Ford.
Resolution number 12, Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Housing and Community Development, grant approval from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to operate the Essex County 2012 Emergency Solutions Grant. The program E12-UC-34-00014, $456,468.
Are there any questions or comments, freeholders, dealing with resolution number 12? Freeholder Clark.
Yeah, do we have a breakdown on how that money's being spent? Who's getting it, where it's going?
Yes, Madam President, there is an attachment in your package.
It's on what page, Mr. Chanel? Because I'm looking at it, you have hard copy, I'm looking at it on the screen.
If you want, I can just read the groups and the ESG award, if that helps. Or we just give you a copy? Hard copy?
Oh, that would be great, thank you.
Freeholder Clark, anything further?
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
I'll get back to you. Freeholder Bobadilla?
Well, on the agenda, it states 456,468. However, looking at the documentation provided for a packet, we have 493,468. So is there a reason for that difference?
We have Mr. George Serio, the director. If I could call him up to address that.
Oh, he is here.
George Serio, House of Community Development. The grant amount, 493,468 is correct. The admission is the planning and administration cost to prepare the action plan and monitor and implement the program.
That answers your question? All right, further questions? Freeholder Clark, did you wish to go back to resolution 12?
Yeah, I will. Who's Urban Renewal Corp?
Urban Renewal Corp is a shelter agency. First time we're funding them through this program.
I'm sorry, so who?
It's a shelter operation facility. They're based in South Orange. They submitted an application that was scored. It was ranked by both our division as well as the continuum of care. It's a two-tier process as required by HUD. So it went through both processes and it scored well, and hence that's why you have the grant agreement before you for that.
Okay. My only concern with this, thank you, Mr. Congress, let me get this back to you. My only concern with this is that I would like to see more of the dollars used for this category, which is short and medium-term rental assistance, rather than salaries and paying the rent for agencies. I would rather see the dollars actually go into people, real bodies that need it. And obviously, the agencies themselves need to stay open and they need a roof over their heads. But also, the very name of the grant in ESG suggests that people are coming there saying, I don't have enough to keep my lights on. I don't have enough for this utility. I don't have enough for that utility. And that's the kind of stuff I know I get phone calls about all the time. I don't know about the rest of my colleagues, but that's what I get phone calls about. So I would just like to see the county in the future scrutinize that and say, you know what, we'd really like to see you, even though it's a it's obviously a permissible expense. But
Well, I can clarify that. That's what HUD would like to see as well. The agencies that you see in this matrix, Interfaith Hospitality Network and Mental Health Association, are two of the three entities that applied for that category. The balance is going to Essex County Division Training and Employment, because we just didn't receive enough requests for those funds. And HUD requires that, at least 40%
of those dollars actually go.
Right. Well, actually, I should correct myself. It's no more than 60% of your ESG grant can go towards shelter outreach, shelter operations, and shelter rehab. So the balance goes to your planning and admin costs and your homeless prevention and rapid rehousing programs. This is a transition. This is dovetailing off the HPRP program, which was part of the 2009 stimulus program. So this new ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant, is taking the old Emergency Shelter Grant program, which was operated by the county for a number of years, and it's transitioning it towards that route. And you're going to see a growth process, because as these agencies learn that the focus is now to get people living in permanent housing as opposed to sheltering them, they're going to have to adapt.
Right. And there was a hold on this ESG money.
Absolutely, because
now it's just now being released and freed up.
Right.
Well, all I'm saying is that based on what I can see, there's a huge need for that 60% to go exactly where it needs to go, which is making sure that real life bodies have shelter, and I guess utility services. So we'll see. I mean, this is this go round. We really, enough said. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Freeholder Clark. Freeholders, before we continue, are there any more questions having to do with resolution number 12? If not, thank you very much. A motion would be in order now, please, Freeholders, and a second.
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Freeholder Gill. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yeah.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
All right, moving on, we're going to take resolution number 13 through resolution number 16. Number 17 has been withdrawn, correct? No, it is, okay, then included. Sorry, I'm looking at a former agenda. That will include resolution 13 through 17. Madam Clerk, you'll read it into the record at a later time. And Mr. Cielo, would you please explain them?
13, Madam President, is our Department of Parks. This is nothing more than a memorandum of understanding between the Essex County Environmental Center and the College of Science and Mathematics, Snake River Institute, located at Montclair State University. This agreement would be beneficial to both parties, as it will provide opportunities to secure funding for scientific research as well as educational projects. Resolution 14, contract with Aramark Sports and Entertainment Services, the highest responsible revenue generator bidder, to provide for food as well as a boathouse concession at Verona Park. 3-year agreement, revenue to the county $96,466.50. The vendor will supply their own boats. Aramark has provided water-based boats and tours and rentals for the past 40 years. They also have a safety plan in place. Aramark is as we all know, is a highly qualified food service, and Aramark will also invest about $70,000 for equipment and improvements to the facility, which would include not only the paddle boats, rowboats, but patio furniture and various improvements to the food and beverage operation. The Resolution 15, Department of Parks, contract with DC Computers to provide for a point-of-sale design system for the South Mountain Recreation Complex, $45,300. As we all know, there are many activities that function up at the South Mountain Recreation Complex. This particular contract will allow someone to outfit a point-of-sale services that can consolidate all of the various activities. That would include the gate receipts at the arena, the zoo, the treetop adventure course, the new boats that would be operated out of West Orange, mini golf, into one track point-of-sale service contract for the entire South Mountain complex. This new design will allow us to go out to bid to secure this software or this point-of-sale program in the future. Resolution 16 is Department of Parks contract with Acronis Irrigation to provide for a 12-month, we're actually exercising the 12-month contract for irrigation. This is not only for irrigations at our golf courses, but throughout our parks and all of our outdoor facilities. Resolution 17, contract for food services for our 2013 summer concert series. This is revenue to the county, $2,000. This is from June 28th through August 30th. This vendor will supply hot food, cold food, as well as fried dough. Resolution 18, you set up to 17.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to questions and comments. Mr. Carlovecchio, Mr. McEnerney, do you have any questions or comments? All right, freeholders. And before we continue, do you have any vendors who are here who could come to the microphone?
Sorry, that question on 16.
No, we don't have any of the vendors. Most of them
Mr.
are revenues to the county.
Mr. Chilella, on 16, the contract looks like an exercise of a 12-month option to Optimist. Was this a one-year contract? Was this the first option?
Have Mr. Barrel come up so you can answer that? I know that last year's contract was roughly $318,000, and there's a 1.5% index increase from last year, but I'm not sure if this is the first 12-month option.
Good evening, Ralph Barrel, Business Manager at Parks.
Is this the first option on this one? I know something about either 1 2-year or 2 1-year.
It's 2 1-years. It's a 1-year contract. There's 2 1-year options.
Is this the first 1-year option? So we've only had them for 1 year?
We've had them previously, but this was a new contract that was awarded this year.
So the option for another 12-month option exists at the end of this year?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Freeholders, are there any questions on resolution number 13? Resolution 14. 15. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Just wanted to find out if in the design of this POS system, if there's going to be a mobile app available? Is that in the planning?
If I could have Mr. Barrel come up, because I know he's been involved in this process.
It's there.
That's a good idea.
Hi, Ralph Barrel, Business Manager, Parks. What was the question?
The question is, with the design of this new POS system, is there going to be a mobile app available?
That's one of the options we're talking about. This consultant is actually going to sit down with us and build a spec for us to go out to get a comprehensive POS system that incorporates all of the South Mountain complex. Gives us a real-time ability to not only collect revenue, but to track it, to reconcile with it, and to also interface with the banks. Right now, we don't have that capability with respect to some of the facilities, not knowing if the deposits have been credited. All that will be in real-time information that's available to not only the facilities and the business office, but the administration involved.
I remember the discussion on this. And the only reason I'm mentioning the mobile app is obviously we can probably recognize some, added revenue by increasing sales and services.
Yeah, all those ideas are on the paper, and we're anxious to sit down with this vendor and it's a software engineer that's going to design the system for us. And we're looking to add a lot of features that we don't currently have, and that's one of my questions.
Thank you. Are there any further questions dealing with Resolution 15? If not, 16. Are there questions dealing with 16? 17. Questions for 17? If there are no other questions, Freeholder Clark.
If I could, Madam President, thank you for allowing me to go back to 14.
Yes.
Mr. Chilella, on number 14, I'm not exactly sure what the page number is. Oh, it's page 16 of 64. One vendor who was actually from Verona was rejected because the letter said that he was rejected because he didn't have any, I guess, water-related or boat-related experience.
Which was a requirement of the bid spec.
Right.
Not only were they operating a food concession, but they were also operating the boats on the water.
Right.
And had to have experience as well as life safety in terms of lifeguards and operations. So that clearly was a deficiency in his bid.
If it's the location that I think it is, it's that deli that's been there on the corner, just right across the street from the park for years, for eons. And I guess my point is this: how does the small person in Essex County ever get an opportunity to actually do anything if we're only going to deal with the big ones? I mean, I understand what you're saying, though, that this is an issue that you need to have the safety requirements and everything in place. But will smaller vendors ever get an opportunity to get those kinds of safety credentials under their belt?
I can't speak in general, but I could just tell you that the previous vendor was a small vendor that happened to develop a skill. He did not win this bid. I'll also point out that we just recently had a new vendor win a new bid for cafeteria services at the Hall of Records. So obviously, there are food services opportunities. There may not be all things for everyone, but there is opportunities for people to apply for a bid.
Okay. Freeholders, are there any further questions? If not, a motion for resolution number 13 through 17. And a second. Is there a motion? Moved by Freeholder Luciano. Is there a second? Second by Freeholder Bobadilla. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark,
Yes.
Freeholder Gill,
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson,
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano,
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent, so moved.
All right, with that, we'll move to resolution number 18 and resolution number 19. We'll read it into the record at a later date, Madam Clerk. And Mr. Sciallo, would you please explain 18 and 19?
Yes, the Department of Administration, Office of Purchasing, seeking the approval of payment to East Orange General Hospital for the emergency special transportation for our senior citizens in Essex County, $392,772. As you know, we put out an RFP. We did not have any respondents. We wanted to continue this service. We did send over an emergency declaration to the board, and this is nothing more than paying up that bill to East Orange General Services, East Orange General Hospital for those services. Since that time, we have come to agreement with East Orange, and we'll be coming back to the board with a contract that they will complete the balance of the year to provide transportation services for our senior population. As you know, it's a very critical service. We do not want to interrupt that service. East Orange had provided that service in the past. We were pleased with East Orange. They were going through some administrative changes, and we're not sure whether or not they wanted to continue it. We pretty much convinced them that it was a valued service that was needed, and hats off to East Orange that they continued to provide that service. Resolution 19, Department of Administration, Office of Purchasing. This is the omnibus resolution for purchase of goods and services. This is for the balance of our year, July 1 through December 31st, amount not to exceed $6,392. I'd like to report that for the first 6 months, this board had approved $6.7 million roughly, and what was expended to date was roughly $4.3 million. And these are for pre-approved items under the New Jersey State contract that were bid exempt purchases, as well as purchasing and goods and services that have been ordered by the courts.
Thank you very much. And I see that Jacqueline DeVore is here, who was the director over these two resolutions. Is that correct?
At least the special transportation, number 18 only.
18, and perhaps she can come to the microphone in case there are any questions. Mr. Paul-Vecchio, Mr. McEnerney, do you have any questions?
No, 18.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm happy to see that you're in a lovely color tonight too, because we are all in just beautiful colors for the summer. Well, thank you so much. Yes, place your name for the record,
Jacqueline
please.
DeVore, Director of the Essex County Division of Senior Services.
Thank you. Freeholders, do you have any questions?
No, other than that I'm glad that Mr. Chilova kind of laid it all out there for us, that this was going to be a stopgap, but then you've already, so the blue buses, essentially the blue buses will continue to move, and people can rest assured that they'll still be able to get to their doctor's appointments and various other places that they need to go.
Thank you, Freeholder Clark. Are there any further questions? Any further questions for Resolution 18? And now any further questions for 19? 19, Freeholder Clark.
19. I noticed that in our packets, there was a response to what do you call those, that we, co-ops that we're, Mr. Chilova can't support this tonight because I said the last time that I would never support another omnibus resolution that included co-ops in it to the tune of, close to $1 million. No, that's not an effective use of taxpayers' dollars. We have a large and a functioning and efficient purchasing department. We're paying a lot of people in Essex County to handle those kinds of services, and I don't see for the life of me why we're dealing with Somerset County, Morris County purchasing co-ops and paying them that kind of money. We could be running our own co-op here and charging other people. I urge the rest of my colleagues not to vote for that either, unless it's bifurcated out, because that's an expenditure that our taxpayers should not have to bear. That's just my, and this isn't news to anybody because I said it the last time this came up.
Clerk Deborah Davis Ford, you have a statement you'd like to make about what the Freeholder office has at this time?
Oh, I just wanted to make sure, if you didn't have a memo in your packet, in the clerk's office is a detailed document about each item of expenditure in the omnibus for the first half of the year.
Freeholders, are there any further questions?
Through you, Madam Chair, just a question in regards to this resolution 19 for our budget analyst, Mr. McEnerney. Have you had a chance to look over the omnibus and have anything you want to share with the freeholders before we vote on this?
No, it's typically what we do every 6 months, these types of contracts. And freeholders, Bill Clerk is entitled to her opinion. But it is a control that's been put in place many years ago by purchasing. And we have approved this on an ongoing basis.
Thank you, Mr. McEnerney. Thank you.
Freeholder Bobadilla?
Yes, Mr. Chilella, historically, do we overexpend or underexpend per 6-month intervals? I see, I'm looking at the documentation and it says, it's highlighting, 6.3 million, and as of May 20th, we're expended 4.3.
To my best recollection, I do not believe we've ever exceeded the omnibus since it's been implemented in this county.
Any further questions? If none, is there a motion for Resolution 18 and Resolution 19? Do I have a motion and a second for 18 and 19?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Bobadilla. Is there a second? A second for 18 and 19 freeholders? If none, then I will second it. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
This is on 18 and 19. Yes to 18, no to 19.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes and yes. Yes and yes. Yes and yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
All right, at this point, I'm going to take Resolution 20 through 22 and 24 and 25, all commendations. Is there a motion to move 20, 21, 22, 24, and 25?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Gill, second by?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Sebo.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
We now move to resolution number 23. Clerk, could you please read that at this time?
Resolution number 23, resolution amending resolution R 2003-00074. That was 3 zeros. Setting compensation for freeholder legislative assistance sponsored by Freeholder Luciano.
And who explains this resolution?
I would like to speak, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, as the sponsoring freeholder.
Just for the record, does the freeholder speak about the resolution? The administration does not.
No, okay, this is a freeholder resolution.
It's a freeholder resolution sponsored by Freeholder Luciano. So Freeholder Luciano, it's your turn to speak.
Through you, Madam Chair, let me just say that I have sponsored this resolution as I find it necessary to raise the compensation that our freeholder legislative assistants or interns receive as a stipend. After doing my due diligence and my research, I found out this hasn't been raised in over 10 years. As a District 4 freeholder representing 11 towns, I use my legislative assistants to be my eyes and ears, to speak to constituents, to attend meetings that I cannot make, and they report back to me. They are a very important and vital portion of my role as a freeholder in doing it successfully. I just want to go on record stating that the money that would be increased by passing this resolution per freeholder is not going to increase the county's budget. It's not going to increase taxes in Essex County because the money has already been allotted under a different line item. Simply what we are doing is we are just moving the allotted money from one line to another to use it, in my opinion, more effectively. What I want to do, put on record though, is that I speak for myself, I don't speak for my freeholder colleagues. If there are freeholders on this board or my colleagues that I sit next to that don't support this resolution, I encourage you not to vote yes for it and not to support it, but then I also encourage you not to accept the stipend and to pass up on it, which you are entitled to do. So that being said, I just wanted to get that out there and let everyone know why I sponsored this resolution. Again, it's been over 10 years. This resolution effectively, or essentially, would put into effect a line movement of a total of $45,000 from one budget line into a different budget line. And if it was split up amongst 9 freeholders, that's really only $5,000 per freeholder. And with $5,000, I feel that, an extra intern, young college student that could help me with research and do some work is very necessary, and we would be a great helping hand to my job and role as a freeholder. Thank you.
I'm raising my hand because I would like to comment about this resolution. Before I comment, Mr. McEnerney, do you have anything to say?
Yes,
Or
I
Mr.
do.
Corwin?
I want to clarify a couple of points. One is, for this year, it's $45,000 for the full year. Effectively, we're coming in July, in the middle of the year. I think we'd only be half of that amount of money. The resolution itself, just for clarification purposes, does not initiate the transfer. We will have to do the transfer after November 1st. This will, if we don't do the transfer, then we'll have an over expenditure. But we will have enough money in there until November 1st to make the transfer from the line items and other expenses up to salary and wages in order to cover this, the $22,500, if everybody accepts. And as Freeholder said, he is absolutely correct. It has not been raised.
I can just kind of dovetail on what Mr. McEnerney just said. It has been raised actually since 1995, and it was lowered at that time in 1995. So it's more than $20,000 is currently, but it's raising it from a maximum of $20,000 of annual compensation to $25,000. That can be spread amongst a number of legislative assistants. Again, it's a not to exceed.
If I could just add to that, in 1995, it was reduced from 30 to 20. It was well above 20 for many, many years, and it was above 20 for years when I was a freeholder. In 95, it was reduced to $20,000 a person for aides, for a freeholder aides. And I firmly believe that $20,000 is fine. And I am not for improving, I'm not for raising that amount of money. I don't think that we ought to do something like that because I think that $20,000 is fine and it is taxpayers' money that we are spending. And I think that considering what we do, I think $20,000 works fine. It's worked fine for me, and I think it's more than adequate. Thank you. Realtor, up to you.
This is a question for Ms. Council. Can the freeholders that vote no, can they opt out of those funds?
The resolution allots an amount of money, so it's up to the individual freeholder to set whatever the salary is for their particular legislative agency. So if the maximum now is at $20,000, you can decide to have one aide and pay $10,000 a month. So you wouldn't necessarily opt out, you would just not use the entire stuff.
If I could just add something more to what I said. In 1995, when we changed the amount, we also decided how many legislative aids a freeholder could have. Does this increase the number of aids a freeholder can have?
No, it doesn't. It does not increase that, and in fact, it doesn't add anything additional such as benefits. These are not, I don't believe these are pension eligible positions at all anyway.
How many aids is a freeholder allowed to
The
have?
freeholder is allowed to retain up to 7 legislative aides.
Since 95? I don't believe it was 7.
No, that's true. It might have been less before the 7, 95.
All right, I'll take
Take
you
my
by
word
what
for
you
it.
said,
I
but
have-
that's
I have
not
the
what I
resolution.
remember.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
the resolution.
all right. I don't have the resolution in front of me, and it's been many years. Freeholder Gill?
Thank you for your civil. So just a couple of questions. Where the question's been raised about, I guess this is for our budget consultant and for our council about taxpayer money. But this is, the freeholder budget itself, if there was an issue of taxpayer money in terms of our budget, we should have addressed that in our own budget. What's really on the table, unless, what I'm hearing, and I want to ask our consultant and our council, what I'm hearing right now is the board's being asked to make a decision about an allocation that we've already approved. We're moving money within an approved budget. It's a line item. It's not affecting the bottom line budget of the freeholder board, and it's not increasing the amount of money that Essex County taxpayers will have to undertake as it pertains to our budget for this year. Because what I'm not understanding is are we being asked to make a policy decision, or are we being asked to make a purely budget decision? Because what I'm hearing is that it doesn't affect our bottom line number.
Like that. Sure it affects that. I mean, it's all taxpayer money. I mean,
Right, no, but my point is,
finish.
but I just want to be clear, my point is, the freeholder's annual budget is X, right? And with taxpayer money, but if someone's voting against us because they're protecting taxpayer money, we should have slashed our budget prior to this
Well,
vote.
it doesn't.
Voting against this
it
is not
doesn't-
going to impact taxpayer money in the sense of a cut. It's not costing the taxpayers any additional funds.
I don't know how you can say that. If you're gonna spend extra money, if it's left over.
Well,
at the
stop
end-
right there, extra. How is this extra money?
Because we wouldn't have spent it. And it'd be left over at the end of the year.
Well, if it wouldn't be spent, this is, and again,
Right.
I'm sorry for using,
That's
you
okay,
know,
that's fine, that's fine.
and the bottom line number does not change in our own budget. This is $45,000 that would have been returned to the treasury.
Correct.
This money would not have been spent out of a total of our approved budget was for the office,
Well, for salaries and wages, roughly about 700,000.
700,000.
So, you know, it doesn't affect the tax rate this year. You know, what we've tried to do is budget an amount of money that we've had for an extended period of time. And that's been fairly constant. So, but at the end of the year, we traditionally had monies left over in other expenses. And that's why we're able to move these funds up.
But there's the potential to have that 45,000. Not, we don't know for sure.
We would not raise taxes, we would not need to do anything this year, it's already set in stone. But what I'm saying is, from the standpoint, you write a check out for more money, it's clearly costing the government more. I mean, there's no way around that. But at the end of the day, the tax rate has already been set for 2013. This does not impact on the tax rate. But this year, it's a nominal amount of about $22,500 if everybody chooses to use it. At the end of the day, if the number of freeholders, a couple decide not to choose, it's going to be even less than that. It's a very de minimis amount from that standpoint.
Right.
But you are, I mean, I just can't, at the end of the day, you're still writing checks for extra amounts of money. We would have, traditionally at the end of the year, we had money left over, which gets canceled, puts in the reserve and lapses into fund balance.
We might have that money left over
had always,
And another line item within our own budget.
we had, every year.
And we have.
We've had it every year.
So I guess my point is, maybe we have, maybe we have to take a harder line, maybe if this is something that this is the will of the board, maybe we just need to make sure that there's other places within our own budget where that money can be found.
I know where it is. I mean, it's in other expenses. But I just don't want, the point that spending extra money isn't an extra cost, is not a fair statement. You're spending extra money. But the tax rate for this year has already been set based on the budget and the line items we have. And all we're doing is taking from other expense and putting it up. We never have, for an extended period of time, fully expended our other expense line. And that's why we have the flexibility doing it here. I didn't budget for this.
Right.
When we did the budget,
But
I
you
did
just
not
said the
budget.
key word in my, that's why we have the flexibility.
Right. That's why we have the flexibility.
Right.
Correct. Absolutely.
Freeholder Bobadilla, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, to Mr. McEnerney, how many years, continuous years, has our budget been constant that you know?
And our budget has, well, it's changed very little. As a matter of fact, there, at the point in time when Mr. DiVincenzo became the county executive, we reduced the freeholder budget by $2.2 million. There used to be in the freeholder budget an item called discretionary grants. It's over $700,000. Grant monies that were given out to various organizations, not necessarily through the grant process. So, I mean, there was a lot of issues there that when Mr. DiVincenzo became freeholder president, he cut immediately. And that's when we started getting a fixed amount.
Really, discretionary funds.
Well, that and the number of freeholder aides was drastically reduced. There used to be 3 budget consultants, there's 1. I mean, there was a lot of changes made. There's additional attorneys, yeah, so it was quite substantial. This budget has remained constant. It has not gone up significantly over an extended period of time. As a matter of fact, the salary ordinances, even for professional, have not been touched for an
And
extended
this vote is not going to impact that budget number.
That budget number will stay exactly the same.
Is it-
Freeholders, are there any further comments or
I have a-
questions? Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Follow-up questions.
He's still talking.
Freeholder Gill?
I think people really will be maybe did a better job articulating it than I did. So our number, our budget number, will remain constant, even if we were to support this resolution.
Absolutely. At least for sale. I don't see this number, adjusting our budget. Obviously, next year, we're talking about $45,000, which would have to be moved up. Now, I know I have
Right.
22.5 in there. I have to see what we have.
Mr. McEnerney, you're saying it will stay what it is for this year, but
For
we
this
don't
year, I
know
can't
next
speak
year.
for next year.
Can't speak for next
But if
year.
it does increase, we would reduce the other expenses that we have to use.
Freeholder
It's dollar for dollar,
Johnson?
I can't say it.
Yes, I just want to say for the record that for some of the work that we do, I think that I need the help. I can't speak for all the rest of my colleagues, but I know I need the help in some of the things, in some of the areas that I have to do and things I have to encounter, and the things I try to do for people of our county. And so I'm definitely going to be voting for it because I think that I don't think that they will feel it's robbery when they feel that you are doing the things that you need to do out here for them to help them.
Freeholders, are there any other questions? Comments? If not, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Moved by Freeholder Luciano. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Freeholder Johnson. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla,
Yes.
Freeholder Clark,
Yes.
Freeholder Gill,
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson,
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano,
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seymour,
No.
Freeholder President Watson, absent, so moved.
Madam Clerk, are there any added starter resolutions or ordinances?
Yes, Madam President, there is one, resolution number 26.
Madam Clerk, would you please read Resolution 26?
Resolution 26, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering, contract award to Colonelli Brothers, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder for the replacement of the Clark and Dodge Street bridges, Glen Ridge in East Orange, New Jersey, amount not to exceed $784,045.
Mr. Chilella?
Yes, Madam President, thank you for allowing the administration to submit this as a late starter. The justification for the request for a late starter is that we all know we're on a summer abbreviated schedule. This is work to be done at the Clark and Dodge Street Bridge. This bridge is in East Orange and is used by school buses by a nearby school. And this work would like to get started so that we could have this bridge operative for school opening in September. This is coming out of our capital and is also grant funded. I should point out that $600,000 is coming from grants and roughly $184,045 is coming out of the capital account.
Mr. Chilella, is the Colonelli Brothers, is there a representative here?
Yes, we do.
Please introduce yourself and tell us about your company.
Good evening, Teresa Fuller, Project Manager, Colonelli Brothers.
You might want to pull the mic down and speak into it.
Thank you.
Would you say that again?
Good evening, Teresa Fuller, Project Manager, Colonelli Brothers. Do you have any questions?
Freeholders? Tell us a little bit about the company.
What would you like to know about the company? We're a state contractor. We do bridge and utility work.
And what type of work you do, where you've done your work?
Bridge and utility work. We work in New Jersey and New York.
Madam President, I believe they've done work for Essex before.
You've done work for us before.
I believe so. I've only been with the company 4 months.
Freeholders, do you have any questions? While she's here, now's your chance.
I just have a
Be able to
quick
vote
question
here.
to Ralph. Ralph, I remember voting on something on this last year. Was that just the architectural or maybe the engineering specs of the project, or I completely off?
I'm not sure if it was this bridge or another bridge project. It might have been another bridge project. But I'll see if I can check my notes.
Freeholders, are there any other questions or comments?
The light just went off my head. I believe it was a bridge in Bluefield.
Thank you very much for being here tonight.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, there's another question.
I don't know necessarily that somebody might be able to answer it, but perhaps. What kind of minority involvement do you have with this project as it relates to the scope of this work to be done? If you can't answer it, just, I can understand it. I'm not gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how to answer
No
that.
problem.
I'm sorry. Some projects have certain goals and some don't, and I don't know.
No problem.
Okay, sorry.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chilella,
I will ask our Director of Public Works to see if we can answer that for you.
yeah, because the only reason I'm going to vote on this is because of something that you said. You said it's school buses,
Oh,
okay, and children, because otherwise my vote would be no on this. But I really want to know if there's going to be some minority involvement in that. Are any minorities going to get an opportunity to actually work? Are they going to be able to dig up some pavement? Are they going to be able to do, because it says here that they're going to sub out at least $23,000 of this, but that's a mere pittance in terms of what the contract calls for. So, and that's only going to be for striping and or stripping and something else. So the rest of the work is obviously being done by the company. And does the company have an African American that is a laborer? Do they have a Hispanic who's a laborer? I mean, is there any minority involvement? Because the questions I'm getting asked, and as you can understand, is when you see work done in a city like East Orange, but you never see anybody who looks like the majority of the people who live in East Orange. So that's a question that I certainly can't answer, so I have to ask it here.
Through you, Madam President, in your packet, there is that's required by the contractors to fill out, and it's titled an initial project workforce report. And there they would highlight the projected minority employees. And if I read this correctly, it looks like there are 2 males for this project under the category entitled projected minority employees.
Okay.
But we will confirm that in writing from the Director of Public Works.
That's not something I've not asked before.
Yes, sir.
It's a question I ask all the time, and at some point in time, I'm just trying to figure out when we're going to insist that some people get some jobs out of this. It's a crazy amount of money being spent in contracts if you look at it. We got a $700,000 budget, almost $750 million. And if we can't, no, we have almost $750 million budget, county budget, not million, billion, at $700,000. And if we're not providing jobs for people in Essex County, if we're not providing jobs for people who are African American and Latino and women, then what the heck are we doing? Where's the money going? Who's it going to? I mean, we talk about putting Essex County first, and let's put Essex County residents first.
Freeholders, are there any other questions or comments dealing with resolution number 26? If there are none, a motion would be in order, and a second. Moved by Freeholder Gill. Is there a second to resolution number 26, please? Second by Freeholder Bobadilla. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Beasley absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark.
Yes.
Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano.
Yes.
Freeholder Owens, absent. Freeholder Vice President Seabold.
Yes.
Freeholder President Watson, absent. So moved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We now go back to the regular agenda, and at this point, is there a report of board committees? Any reports of board committees? We then move to legislative reports. Written communications. Unfinished business. New business. At this point, then, we come to the public comment session.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, do you have freeholder comments there? I have some things I'd like to put on the record.
It comes after the public comment session. We now come to the public comment session. Madam Clerk will move to that session. If there is any member of the public who would like to address the board on any issue at all, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Your name and affiliation for the record, please.
My name is Walter Ford. I'm on affiliation, young and 46-year relationship and running program in Penfield Park. I'm very concerned for the response that I'm getting from the administration a very serious problem in that park. There is a ridge that goes around the rear all the way through Glenfield Park. And it drops immediately after the fact. That whole ridge drops 20 feet. I have to continually be aware of that when I see youngsters going there. You can't see it. I think Dr. Gill can attest to at least viewing. And that was last summer. And it's an accident waiting to happen. When it gets one youngster going over this cliff that leads into our glen. And that will impact on everyone in that area. Because children are in that rear area. This is where the new ball field is, and our community really doesn't have access to it. They're renting out every space, every week. It's not impacting us because, as I said, I've been directing this program for 46 consecutive years. And at this stage in our lives, in our use of the park, we the participants, I'm back up one step, we were participants with the town in the Green Acre grant. In the Green Acre grant, we participated in $900,000 of that. And we will not continue to just take it second to the whole. They come from everywhere, and we are not getting anything out of it. And the constituents that not only are immediately around Glenfield Park, the constituents that are in town.
You have 30 seconds.
I'm sorry?
You have 30 seconds to sum
I'm
up.
not going to leave on that. But I wanted to make this level of government aware. We're not happy with it. We put up with it long enough. I've made 4 calls to Mr. Silvano. He has not bothered to answer any of it. What we need to do is to look at it. I think if we look at a glimpse of it, and I'm not holding him responsible, at a glimpse of the problem that we have. The ridge on the top of the ridge on the top of the park in the rear drops 20 feet down immediately on the side of the walkway. All a youngster has to do is drift away, and he's
We'll
going
just
to
wrap up what you're saying because your time is running out, and
Okay.
you will receive an answer in writing.
I'm sorry?
You will receive an answer in writing.
I'll wait to hear it.
Okay.
I've been patient at this point.
You will get an answer in writing.
Okay. And I thank Mr. Gill, because he last summer came down and saw what I'm talking about.
Thank you for being here to share that with us.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak?
Douglas Green, P.O. Box 4252, Wade Park Sports Authority, Southport Football District Leader. Doing, Madam Chair, during the last meeting, we addressed the body about Chancellor Avenue, and the day after, the new police put a mobile unit out there at 12 o'clock at night, and it was a success. On Father's Day, we had a Father's Day event, and I know he's not here, but we want to thank Freeholder, Mr. Owens for attending, and it was a success. And we had about 30 paddleball players from past and about 10 present. Now we'll be starting a new league within Weekway Park. One of the issues that we presented to the board about the speed bumps, we received a response back saying there was no need for the speed bumps on the Elizabeth Avenue side, but there is a need while we was out there with Freeholder Owens several cars were speeding past the playground, and he witnessed it with his own eyes. We want a study to be put in place so we can get these speed bumps. We need them. We're not waiting for a child to get hit. Recently, we found out from housing on Dayton Street, there was a casualty within last year of speeding before y'all closed off the park. We do not want anyone to be hurt before we rectify the situation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll have to get an answer about your speed bumps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Edward Duke, Citizen Orange. I would like to bring to this body a suggestion. Weequahic Park is coming back. We are part of the Weequahic Park Sports Authority. And in our conversations and in our meetings, it came about that we have autistic kids, we have kids with handicaps that don't get out. And what we would like for this body to do, to see if we could come up with a spot in the park, get them out, Weequahic Park is, to get them out of the house, get them off them computers and ruining their eyes or whatever all day long, to get out and interact with nature. And I think that it would be a lesson to them. But if it's possible for handicapped, autistic kids to come to the park and integrate with nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Seeing that there is no one at this point, we'll have a freeholder comment session. Freeholders? Freeholder Belvedere.
First, I just want to commend you on your role today.
Thank you so much.
I think you did excellent. Second, I want to comment on my commendation for Emil Garudo, who is, after 40 years of service as an educator, administrator, has retired from the New York public school system. And what's admirable about his efforts throughout all his years is not that he just impacted thousands of young children and their lives and their future, is that he also helped build a foundation to a lot of families. And on top of that, he also helped good parents become better parents. Okay? And as an equal critic and supporter of both, district public schools and charter schools, I don't care what they look like. To me, it's about the golden egg, and I think you've heard me saying it before. It's at the end, I don't care if the golden egg comes from a duck or a chicken. As long as I have the golden egg, those kids have a good education, they have a good future. And I think if you know Emil, he is a very humble man. He is an excellent educator, an excellent administrator. And I can tell you that there's thousands and thousands of kids and parents that are losing out on a person like that. And we need more people like that in all our educational systems. Thank you.
If I could just add to that, I had the distinct pleasure of also having the opportunity to honor Emil Garudo, and he is truly a wonderful, wonderful man. I don't think there's anything more I could add to what he said, but thank you so much for including me. Freeholders, are there any other comments? Freeholder Clark.
Yeah, so Mr. Choice, you are the grand distinguished gentleman of the city of Montclair. So thank you for coming forward and bringing forward your concerns relative to Glenfield Park. I know that the administration has heard them because I saw Mr. Chalala taking copious notes while you were talking. So I would hazard a guess, sir, that you're going to receive a phone call from someone post haste, particularly if you said you gave 4 attempts and not 1 return call. So I'm certain that you'll get a return. In the meantime, perhaps what we need to do is schedule a recreation committee meeting, which would then enable us to look at whatever the issues are, and there would be nothing, I guess, prohibiting us, Mr. Chilella, if we'll get on Mr. Chilella's calendar to see what time is good, and if you can check with Mr. Salvati to see what time is good, and we can have our recreation committee meeting right at Glenfield Park Fieldhouse, and then that way it would just kill 2 or 3 birds with one stone. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get to some amicable resolution. At least that's my hope. How's that?
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Freeholder Clark, and I know that the clerk will make sure that she speaks to the president and that that meeting does occur. Are there any further Freeholder comments?
Yes, Madam President.
Freeholder Jackson.
I would like to take this opportunity to extend an invitation to everyone here and my colleagues. For Saturday, we're having our house music concert festival, which is going to go from 12 noon to 8 p.m. in the newly renovated Weekway Park. And bring your chairs, bring your family. There'll be vendors and all, and enjoy a nice day in the sun in our gorgeous Weekway Park. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Madam Chair.
Freeholder Luciano.
Just a few things, Madam Chair. I'll try to be as quick as possible in essence of time. First, I also want to commend Emil Garudo. I can't say any more than what Freeholder Bobadilla said. I just was fortunate enough to work for him for 3 years in the summertime. He was my school principal as I work and am employed by the North Public Schools. So Emil, if you're watching this meeting, we wish you your best of luck in retirement, and you will be deeply missed. Number 2, I wanted to put on public record that I was very disappointed to see that the director of the Turtleback Zoo has resigned. I do not know the nature of why Dr. Goodman has resigned. I hope it's for bigger and better things. I'm sure over the next few days, maybe the administration could just include the freeholders as to what direction we're going in at the Turtleback Zoo. I don't know if we have appointed a director. I don't know if we have an acting director. Okay. It's in the package. Okay. I did see the memo, but I wasn't aware of it, so I just wanted to raise that.
The freeholder, if I could just answer, the freeholder director was hired by the zoo in, I believe it's Rhode Island, and he will be leaving, and there is someone who is appointed right now to fill his position as acting.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Again, the zoo
He wasn't
is...
asked to go already.
Okay, no, I was almost certain of that.
No, I don't
And if
think
you look
anything
at our-
bad. This was a very big promotion for him that he couldn't resist, unfortunately.
Good, very good. And lastly, what I wanted to put on record is that I attended a mayor and council meeting in the borough of Roseland last night. And actually looking around the room here tonight, the only other person I think that was there was our reporter who was sitting here out in the audience from the Star Ledger. And Roseland is in the district that I represent. It was a meeting that, in my opinion, was very concerning, as there was about 75 to 100 residents concerned about a natural gas pipeline that is coming through Essex County, specifically a transfer station that is in Roseland. I'm not an engineer. I don't have any experience in natural gas or pipelines, but I am the county legislator that represents that community, and I did leave the residents that I spoke to on a personal level assured that as a county, we are going to do everything we can to look into resident safety, and we will reach out both to the residents and to the company who is providing the pipeline to make sure that their communication with the residents, the township, and the county is the utmost professional and on top of their list, because what we experienced last week in the borough of Roseland is the elementary school that had to be evacuated because of the smell of natural gas. A community of shops and businesses that couldn't understand why natural gas was lingering around for a couple of days. until we found out from the company that is pumping this natural gas line through Roseland that they had what they call a controlled blowout of natural gas so that they could do some maintenance on one of the pipes. If something like that's going to happen in the future, I'm very concerned, the residents are concerned, the borough mayor and township is concerned, and rightfully so. You know, we all care about the safety of our residents and our children, and of course our schools, and we don't want to see something like that happen again. So I will put on record that I did speak to the county executive's chief of staff, Phil Elijah, earlier this morning, and he supported wholeheartedly that the Essex County Board of Chosen Freeholders and the county executive are going to take a very proactive role in handling what's going on there in the borough of Roseland, and the fact that our Essex County Environmental Center happens to be right up against this pipeline, where we have plenty of school children and plenty of schools and residents going there on a daily basis to share in the services that our environmental center provides. We want to make sure that no one is going to have any reservations, not the residents that live in Roseland, not the ones that send their kids to school, and not the ones that are going to use Essex County's environmental center.
Thank you, Freeholder Luciano. Freeholder Hill?
Thank you, Freeholder Siebold. Just a quick couple of comments and things for follow-up. First and foremost, as Mr. Choice noted, I did have an opportunity to take a look at the specific situation that he has referenced, and not only do I think having a recreation committee meeting was a great idea, but in addition, I think there is a concern. Hopefully we can, Ralph, have someone just get back to me, as soon as possible regarding the potential danger. The cliff is, no question, substantial, that Mr. Choice has referenced, and of course we want to do our best to make sure we prevent something potentially before it happens. And I want to thank Mr. Choice for taking the time to be here and raising that to the full board. I also just wanted to reiterate a couple of things of people who came before the board at the beginning of the public comment portion to raise a couple of issues. One, just to reiterate on the Presby Memorial Iris Gardens nonprofit. Again, for those people who are going to be watching this and seeing this, and to my board members, they are looking to really diversify their board and their participation, and it's a real opportunity for those of us who are on this board, for our constituents, to have an opportunity to participate in county government in a different way. It's a serious board which does great work. I think we've all enjoyed the facility there, but that board is coming to us and asking for assistance, and I'm hoping that my colleagues will do their best to make recommendations on people who could potentially serve. I did want to thank the administration for their follow-up also on two local projects, one in Bloomfield on a paving project, so Ralph, thank you again always for your diligence with that, and also for both here in Montclair, the Mount Hebron and Orange Road paving issues, which were resolved quickly. Thank you again for your efforts and the efforts of our county workforce. We have with us, if you don't mind, Freeholder Siebold, we have with us our former mayor, our current deputy mayor, Bob Russo, who I think was going to bring greetings from the Montclair Township Council, and it probably didn't bring it at the end of the meeting, at the beginning, but we're glad he made the time to be here. With that, I'd like to bring him up to bring a few words. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Brendan. I'm apologizing for a meeting I was tied up at for 4 hours at the AFT New Jersey, American Federation of Teachers, which Lenny is also active in. They held me up there in Union for a long time. I just almost didn't make it, but I wanted to be here because Mayor Jackson asked me to represent him and to give you greetings and welcome you to our town hall. You're all sitting where we sit every Tuesday night, and we just welcome you here. And I know so many of you, and I know Brendan is our representative here. Appreciate his follow-up on anything that Wally Choice brought up about Glenfield Park. And I appreciate all of you, the work you do. Carol, I've known you for many years, and Pat, going back 30 years, the time of Peter Shapiro. Lenny as a fellow educator in AFT, and Brendan as my neighbor in Montclair. all of you, and Rufus as well, are people who do a good job of trying to make the county serve our citizens. You know, we pay maybe 15, 16% of our monthly taxes to the county. So people always ask me what's going on, and I tell them because I know, having served as Consumer Affairs or Consumer Services Director many years ago under County Executive Peter Shapiro, that the county does some good work, and we have wonderful parks. And we just want to get our money's worth, and we want you to respond when we have a problem. So hopefully you'll follow up on the Glenfield Park issues, any other issues. The mayor wants to make you aware that we're looking to collaborate as much as possible, and we'll work through Brendan as our local 5th District freeholder. As you all know, I was elected for 1 week about 35 years ago for a freeholder, and I was elected for about a week and was unelected, Pat knows. So I know what you do, I know the work that you do, and I appreciate the work that you do, and I just ask you to work with us in Montclair, with Mayor Jackson, myself, and the council, make sure that the residents get their dollars worth. They're all pressed for taxes, our property taxes are so high, it's education costs primarily, but on that 15 or 16% of the county portion, we appreciate your responding to anything we need. And thank you, Brendan, for your hard work and making sure we have a voice here at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
I think the deputy mayor mentioned everybody's name but mine, so I think we have a lunch date. We have to have a lunch date. That's, you know, I'm the only one you don't know.
I really don't.
Not
I'm not a good politician.
Not to belabor the meeting, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, but I just really wanted to put this on record that I'm deeply saddened to hear just recent, within the last hour or so, of the passing of actor James Gandolfini. We all know him as Tony Soprano, and the Soprano show generated a lot of revenue and participated a lot in Essex County. The show was filmed in a house in North Colwell, which is in my district. James Gandolfini himself is a business owner and owns a stake in a restaurant in Cedar Grove, and they did a lot of filming also in Nutley. I'm very disappointed to hear the passing. We know that James Gandolfini was 51, and I'm sure he'll always be remembered in the state of New Jersey and, of course, in Essex County.
Thank you. I just turned my phone on and it's right there in the headline. I'm really sorry to hear that. Freeholders, are there any other comments? If not, we'll have a motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you, Freeholders.